Thanks for checking out the Brad and John Show podcast. This segment of the show is brought to you by John Combest's book, Stalking, Harassment, Internet Trolling, A Guide to Recovering and Rebuilding After Online Attacks. It's a great reference if you've ever been the unfortunate target of a social media attack. It's available on Amazon. Just search John Combest. That's C-O-M-B-E-S-T, John Combest, and the book will show up in your search results. Now it's time for another segment of the Brad and John Show. Can you handle it?
It's me, Egbert, once again. I'm the new owner of this station. I went out and hired the best talk radio consultant, Jeff Allen from News Talk STL, and told him to hire the worst talent he could find. Jeff did exactly as I told him. Ladies and gentlemen, here are Brad and John.
Hey, John, have you heard of this thing that Charlie Kirk, you brought him up? Was that yesterday or the day before you brought up Charlie Kirk?
Yesterday, I think, yeah.
Okay, have you heard this new thing with Charlie Kirk? Apparently he's making all these sort of soothsaying predictions. Have you heard this crazy stuff?
No, I haven't heard this at all.
He's essentially saying that next month when Judge Marchand in New York passes sentence on Trump, that he is going to literally throw him in jail, that they are going to take him away from the hearing in handcuffs. He's going to go into jail. And then he further is stating that within the next month or so, that it will be announced that our president, Joseph Robinette Biden, has decided he's had a change of heart and he's not going to resign. He's just going to work out his current term of president of the United States, and there will be a new person who will become the Democrat person. And he's saying, once again, Michelle Obama. And they're saying that Michelle Obama is the giant killer that no matter who, if the Republicans got Jesus Christ to come down back to the planet Earth, that Michelle Obama would beat anybody that the Republicans could garner. That this is what he's saying. I mean,
don't you think that? I mean, wouldn't that be a disappointment? First of all, to all the people that were Hillary Clinton supporters, that were hoping to one day have a biological female as president. Wouldn't that be disappointing to have Michelle as president? Secondly, don't you think that throwing Trump in jail would only make him a more sympathetic character?
Well, this is the interesting thing. The other thing was that just yesterday, if you read there, this was trumpeted on quite a few of the websites yesterday, the fact that the latest poll, I don't know if this is a Fox poll or something like that, it showed Biden coming back 2 points, and it's showing him there statistically in a dead heat, but numerically he's like 1 point ahead of Trump. And the thing that gets me about this is that you talk about the spin doctors in D.C. You talk about the crazy, weird stuff for Jean-Claude Pierre, whatever her name is. I mean, it's to the point where they're talking about the cheap fakes and stuff like that. I mean, people are taking the video as it was. That's a cheap fake now. A deep fake is when you actually make it something it's not. If you do AI and you have Donald Trump saying, hey, I had sex with 3 women last night and it was wonderful, and it looks like him really talking. That's a deep fake. A cheap fake is now essentially described as you're taking a real video and you're just pulling a segment out of it, technically out of context. I mean, like, for example, the one they keep referring to is the fact that when the G7 leaders are all standing around, and what you don't realize is there's one picture where you see a guy in front of the G7 and goes, what's that guy doing? He's a parachutist. And they had this thing where, I don't know if it was the French parachute team or something like that, who parachuted into the G7 conference. And one of the parachutists ended up to the left of the group of the G7 people, including President Biden. And he turns his back to the G7 group and starts to walk over to talk to the parachutist, okay? But what's interesting about it is, and I'm thinking to myself, you know what? If I were one of those people, I would want to go talk to that guy too. So I'm thinking to myself, okay, no problem. I don't have a problem with that. But the thing that makes it look hinky is that, who's the lady? The lady who is premier of Italy. She goes over and sort of brings him back. And sort of AKA the same thing that happened Sunday, or it was Saturday or Sunday over the weekend, where Obama on stage at this mega fundraiser in L.A., Obama grabs Biden by the arm, and then he sort of pulls him off stage and puts his hand on his back and walks him off stage. And it's stuff like that goes like, oh, okay. I have a situation in my own personal life where just yesterday I did that to one of my family members. And the irony of this situation is we're talking one of my family members who is not 90 years old, one of my family members who's 30, who has some issues where I'm holding them by the arm with my arm around them or my arm in my hand in their back to essentially steady them, okay? That is the bad optic. Don't you agree on that? When you see
Yeah,
that?
I agree. And when the White House talks about cheap fakes and their apologists and the media talk about cheap fakes, the thing that you can't run away from is that Donald Trump and Joe Biden will be on the same stage in 1 week. And then everybody sees it in real time and it will be dissected 1,000 different ways. But you can explain a few clips and say that they're taken out of context because everybody has the propensity to take stuff out of context for people they don't like or don't support. But I guess my point is in a week, that's when the BS stops and people see it in real time.
Yeah, but can I give my I'm going to go against Charlie Kirk. I think it's going to be Biden and Trump on the election in November, and I think Biden's going to win. I'm just saying it right now. I've said it all along. I think Biden's going to win, and then after the election's over, he'll be inaugurated, and a week later he'll say, you know what, it's been a good time, and I just want to stay all my time in Rehoboth or wherever he's at in Delaware, and I'm going to pass the baton to our wonderfully qualified vice president who will become the new president, the 47th president of the United States, or what it was. She's 47 because Trump was 45. I think that's what's going to happen. I mean, I really do.
I'm not convinced that, I don't know I know this is an unpopular thing to say these days, but I don't know what's going to happen in the election. But a year ago, I was much more confident that Joe Biden would win and that it wouldn't be close and that the media campaign against Trump would be successful. But I'm not so certain anymore, Brad.
Well, and I do agree with you because of the fact that it's to the point where sometimes if you just essentially unload on somebody, negative, you get the people like me who are sort of the underdog fans, and I think the underdog fans become more and more prevalent when you see somebody who's just constantly getting beat down. Well, that's because he's a terrible person, and he had a casino that went bankrupt, and remember what he said about grab him by the you-know-what, and that kind of stuff. And pretty soon people go...
but the other thing is, at least he never stayed in a park after the park closed.
Yeah. Now,
like when he was fishing in the Hudson River that time, and he ended up with a couple mafia members.
Okay.
But he didn't land any river trout.
Now, here's my suggestion, okay? After reading this news that came out last week and more news earlier this week, I say we get rid of Donald Trump on the ballot. And you know who we replace him with?
Valentina Gomez.
Bill Belichick.
Oh, nice. I like that. Somebody kind of grumpy, somebody kind of frumpy.
But have you heard the story about Bill Belichick?
No, what happened?
Bill Belichick, I think, is in his 70s now. Mm-hmm. His new girlfriend, 24.
No, I haven't heard this.
24.
Nice. Are you serious?
I'm as serious as a heart attack.
I would have thought maybe he could get somebody a little younger, but 24 isn't bad. That means she was born in 1999, Brad. That's pretty good.
And she's a cheerleader.
Oh, God, of course she is, Brad.
You think I'm kidding? You haven't heard this story?
That's fantastic. I didn't know that. I didn't hear that. That is awesome. And, hey, listen, I got to say real quick, as a guy that was a diehard Rams guy, I hated the Patriots. I was definitely on the anti-Patriots thing. And then over the years, I've really softened on them. I know that that's not popular to say in St. Louis. But, wow, this is great for Belichick.
Okay, and matter of fact, I'm looking at it right now, page 6.
I'm going to look up her picture. Yeah.
You know what page 6 is all about, right? Okay,
yeah.
Page is that in the New York Post, page 6? Is that, or
yeah,
is
it's
that,
the Post.
It's the Post, okay. The headline is, Bill Belichick, 72, and girlfriend Jordan Hudson, 24, seen for the first time together on his boat in Nantucket. Go Bill Belichick!
That's great. Now, I see, okay. Wait a minute. Okay, no, I see him with an older gal, so that can't be her.
Okay,
is she blonde, Brad?
I think she's got brunette hair. She's brown-headed, and she's a former cheerleader. Belichick, who named the boat after his 8 Super Bowl wins, held a stern face as he carried what appeared to be a bag and blanket while walking beside Hudson. Whoa! And the story. So I'm thinking
fantastic.
I'm thinking to myself, we want. Trump's always talking about winner. Okay, you can't say the word winner without putting the name Bill Belichick in the same sentence. I'm sorry. But once again, he's 72 and he's got a 24-year-old girlfriend. To me,
now, what's great is I just said, oh, yeah, I see her on here. That's fantastic. Now, I just read, it just said that he met her in 2021, which means she was 21 at the time, which is even better. Right. And I was half tongue-in-cheek when I said that 24 is probably a little bit old for how he could do.
Supposedly,
that means that he was 21 she was 21 when he met her.
Right. Supposedly, they were on an airplane together, and he started chatting her up, and they sort of hit it off and exchanged phone numbers, and the rest is history. I'm going like, holy
imagine
cow.
how many women who've either they're approaching the wall or they're past the wall are angry about this. Like, it's kind of like the Leonardo DiCaprio thing. Like, how many women are like, oh my God, that's just so gross. And all of those women, if they were an attractive woman that was 21, they might not have been in a relationship with Belichick, but they would have entertained the idea of an older, more successful man.
I think it's interesting.
It's a beautiful thing. This is great. I did like the idea of the Patriots and, the idea of their owner and things like that. There's some tawdry things going on, but I've appreciated the Patriots more as I've gotten older and as the Rams have been gone for a longer period of time. But this is terrific, Brad. And just think how many men are in their late 60s or in their 70s and are down on life, who could see this and be like, hey, like maybe there is some hope in the twilight of my life, Well,
why do you think I like the story so much?
Hey, we've said it before, Brad. You're only as old as the women you feel.
Well, the crazy thing about this is talking about, they talk about racism and all this kind of stuff. Talk about ageism. Here's the most successful football coach in modern history, and he can't get a job. Why? Because he's 72. And to the point where it's like, okay, let's think about this. How old's our current president? 81, 82, something like that? And the guy who's running against him is what, 77, 78?
Yeah. It's a very geriatric race there.
Bill Belichick's like a spring chicken compared to the people who run our country, or who are currently running it, and with Trump aspiring to run the company. I'm thinking, vote for Bill Belichick. Can you imagine? This was her name. What is her name?
Jordan Hudson.
Jordan Hudson as the first lady. Oh my God! OMG!
God, it'd be fantastic.
Right,
but also think, there would be a number of women who might otherwise vote for the Republican ticket who would be. And, the idea of sisterhood uber alles, in other words, like women will take other women's side no matter what, like that might play against Bill Belichick if he was on the ticket.
Well,
women would be, you get what I'm saying?
But think about the campaign, like they had these, campaign fundraisers, or campaign, where they get together and she comes out on stage before Bill Belichick comes out, and she goes, "Hey, I'm going to lead you in a chair, rah rah ree, kick him in the knee, rah rah ras, kick him in the other knee." I can lean to the left, lean to the right. No, don't lean to the left, just lean to the right. Stand up, sit down, fight, right?
Yeah, but I don't know, Brad. Like, this is the best, and I'm not a big celebrity news guy, but this is fantastic. Now, have you seen, because this is fresh to me, have you seen, like, is there a lot of negative reaction to this? Like, have the short hairs and kind of like the Petco cat food crowd, if they weighed in negatively on this?
Here goes John again. Petco cat food crowd.
But like let's stop at Target and get some box wine, and then let's go get then we got to go stop and get some stuff for our fur babies. And then we got to look at Chad's picture on Facebook because he didn't call us back in 1998. He said he was going to call.
Red hot riblets. What'd you say, grape soda too?
Yeah, grape soda. I love a good Vess grape soda. Hey, I grew up playing baseball at Kahneman Park in Jennings, Brad. I know a little bit about grape soda.
Used to be made right in Maryland Heights. Another thing that left the area. Okay, one last thing to talk about this morning, and it just slipped my mind. What was I going to talk about this morning? Oh, on this very radio station, and John is a shining light in this radio station. I'm like a dull bulb that needs to be replaced.
Please.
Okay.
Get out of here.
But we have some really talented people on this radio station. The two guys that come on afterwards, Armstrong and Getty, and maybe this is to be continued. Maybe tomorrow we'll talk about this a little bit more. They are two very interesting guys, and they sort of follow in the mold of of the Rush Limbaugh mold in that they are very well informed. They're very good communicators, but they're funny, okay? And they know how to entertain and that kind of stuff. But on a serious note, they talked about something that I've had a real serious problem with, and they talk about I don't know what they gave a term, maybe it was zombie charities, specifically Easter seals and March of Dimes, okay?
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And if you know the story behind both of those, they were for diseases which have been cured, but yet...
Yeah, they were was it for polio?
Yes, I believe March of Dimes is polio, and Easter seals, I can't remember what that was for. But yet, you still hear ads on the radio for, hey, give to Easter seals. Matter of fact, we used to do, and there used to be a guy in Washmo, he's an insurance guy, I can't remember his name anymore, and he used to come in every year and say, Brad, can I count on you to help me promote the March of Dimes, or March in Ronsick Park or wherever it was? Yeah, we can do that. And what's interesting, I started looking at the background of these things and like, okay, exactly what do these charities do? Now, Heart Association, I get that. American Cancer Society, I get that, because those are things that are always going to be around. But if you're trying to stamp out polio, or you're trying to stamp out tuberculosis, and you're still raising money, I got a problem with that. You know what I'm saying?
I do, yeah. Are there any other dead diseases that maybe we could revive with our own charities, Brad?
Let me tell you something, John. Sometimes I do the deep dives, and I think probably my favorite story on this is my own industry, where I ask my radio brethren, and I say, hey, what kind of money do you think Joy 99 brings in? And to a person, no one has ever come close. Most of my radio brethren who know the radio industry and know, specifically how much this station is billing and stuff like that, they go, they're probably doing $300,000-$400,000 a year. I go, do you know what their average is over the last 5 years? They bring in about $9.5 million. And most of them will go like, what? $9.5 million? I'm telling you right now, here in the way the radio market is, they very well may be the top billing station in the city of St. Louis.
They certainly lead the league in bumper stickers, Brad.
Well, but the point being is they're operated as a not-for-profit, and at the end of the year, all the other stations have to pay. They have to pay their taxes because, let's say, they make a little bit of profit. Let's say they make a lot of profit, okay? But they have to pay their real estate taxes, and they have to pay personal property taxes. Guess what? If at the end of the year, Joy 99 has $1 million surplus, let's say they took in $9 million and it took them $8 million to make that $9 million. So in other words, they had, essentially a profit, of $1 million. Any other corporation would have to pay taxes on that. Nope, not for profit. That's the interesting thing. Not for profit doesn't necessarily mean they can't have money and make money. They just essentially carry it over into the next year. It's a carry forward, and the idea being, well, donations may dry up next year, so we have to have that essentially that security blanket of having that money in the bank. I'm going like, what a crock of you-know-what. And
it's a crock, Brad.
And not only them, but I can tell you charities here in the St. Louis area that are an nth degree from being full-on scams. I'm telling you. I've worked with some of them. And when the dust clears and I look at some of these, I go like, I can't believe I did anything for them. You know what I mean?
There's going to be a segment on that. I'm hosting it on Boost 95.5 a little bit later, Brad, and we're going to expose some of those scams. Mostly it has to do with personal property tax. So you can listen to that at Boost 95.5 and Joy 95.1 and Brad's online church station. Brad, I'm going to be a little late chopping up the show today because I got to go distribute my smallpox blankets.
John, yesterday's up and out.
It's phase one of my next charity.
Yesterday's
and
up.
Happy summer solstice, Brad.
Yes, and we'll see what happens at 3:50 today. Yesterday is up, and I'll work on today as soon as I get off the air, okay?
Bye, guys. I'll see you Thursday.
8:02. No, Friday. You'll see us Friday.
Bye.
Today's Friday. Come on, John. You don't make mistakes like that. That's a Brad mistake.
Thanks for checking out the Brad and John Show podcast. This segment of the show is brought to you by John Combest's book, Stalking, Harassment, Internet Trolling, A Guide to Recovering and Rebuilding After Online Attacks. It's a great reference if you've ever been the unfortunate target of a social media attack. It's available on Amazon. Just search John Combest. That's Combest, John Combest, and the book will show up in your search results. Now it's time for another segment of the Brad and John Show. Can you handle it?